A year before Hot Pursuit 2 and long before Need for Speed World, Electronic Arts released Motor City Online, originally conceived as Need for Speed Motor City. The game launched in October 2001 and by August 2003 it was already shut down. So as you might guess, this isn't exactly a hands-on review. Still, I'll do my best to share the results of my research, what the game was like back then and what state it's in today. Motor City was first announced in the summer of 1999. It was originally meant to be the next installment in the Need for Speed series, set in the world of mid-20th century American street racing culture. But this scene was about much more than just racing. It was about community, social interactions, and the shared passion between car enthusiasts. It was a cultural movement that simply couldn't be captured within a traditional single-player experience. So, although the game was initially planned to include various offline modes, the focus soon shifted entirely towards online play. Electronic Arts aimed to create a racing equivalent of EverQuest or Ultima Online. Motor City was designed to feature a dozen different districts where players could engage in impromptu races, hang out at virtual cafes, or cruise through drive-in spots built for socializing. While Need for Speed fans were eagerly awaiting the next chapter in their favorite franchise, especially one this ambitious, the game was ultimately delayed from fall 2000 to 2001. The reason? The developers decided to completely remove the single-player component and fully commit to the MMO concept, even dropping the Need for Speed name in the process. However, when Motor City Online finally launched in October 2001, many players were left disappointed. For starters, even after buying the game for $40, you still had to pay a $10 for monthly subscription fee. So what exactly did you get for that price? Instead of the lively 3D locations players were hoping for, places like Roxy's Dinner, Roadkill Cafe, and South Drive-In where you could hang out, trade parts, chat with other racers, listen to the radio and discuss the latest races, what you got were just glorified chat rooms. Now that wouldn't have been such a big problem if the game had enough players to actually talk to, but most of the time these lobbies were ghost towns, populated only by the occasional digital tumbleweed. They only came to life a bit on the weekends, when folks with decent internet would log in to race, trade or join car clubs. To the game's credit, the small community it did attract was passionate. Players organized auctions, raced for pink slips, set time trial records, and generally helped each other get the hang of things. MCO lacked a physical manual, and the online documentation was often outdated or incomplete. In that sense, the game's shortcomings actually brought players together. Newbies had to rely on veterans to understand the mechanics, especially something as crucial as tuning. Without proper tuning, your car was nearly undrivable, and forget about enjoying the races, let alone winning. As for the gameplay loop, the game also suffered from an unbalanced economy and tedious progression system. There were 4 types of races: street races, circuits, drag races, and time trials. Within those you had a few different modes: open race, where you used your own car, sponsored race, where you raced with the sponsor-provided vehicles, and club race, where your car club faced off against others. The best payouts came from racing in open race mode, with your own car, but good luck finding enough people to join. After setting up a race, you could easily go make a coffee, flip through a magazine, or finish your homework while waiting for someone to show up.
Hello, Ron?
I've waited years.
And when you finally found an opponent, say another lone wolf craving a proper race, the game might fill the rest of the lobby with bots. And according to player feedback, those bots were brutal. If you were driving a stock starter car, you stood no chance. The bots would sweep the winnings every time, which was especially ridiculous considering they didn't even have to pay the race entry fee. This pretty much forced players to grind their cash through sponsored races, mostly circuit and time trial events. And by the time you finally saved enough to buy and upgrade a better car to challenge the few real players online, you'd realize everyone was racing on the same handful of tracks. So no matter what, you were stuck racing the same layouts over and over. And if the repetitive gameplay loop didn't drive you off, in 2001 you'd still have another major hurdle: your internet connection. A fast and stable connection is important for any online game, but for racing, where split seconds matter, it's absolutely crucial. Players frequently encounter strange issues caused by poor latency and unstable servers. Cars suffering from lag could suddenly surge forward at absurd, uncontrollable speeds, slamming into opponents and walls alike. Vehicles would vanish and reappear, and in drag races, someone disqualified for false start might still win due to a desynchronization glitch. From the steep price tag and monthly fee to the technical problems and flawed game system, MotorCityOnline managed to filter out a large portion of its potential audience. The servers felt empty, and Electronic Arts eventually deemed the game a failure. In 2003 they pulled the plug, shifting their focus to supporting The Sims Online. Still, the game's unique style, and let's be honest, even in 2025, nothing else quite like it exists, left a lasting impression. Many fans were not only disappointed by its closure, but also refused to let it fade into obscurity. Dedicated players created a patch that lets you play the game offline. So let's take a look at what's still accessible today. In the offline version, of course, there are no chat rooms, no in-game menus, no car progression, basically none of the original MMO elements. All you get are the races themselves, which you launch via a special launcher that lets you configure your race settings. You can pick your car and choose from a wide range of paint jobs. The default race mode is set to 16, which as far as I can tell pits you against AI opponents. You can select their cars or just clone your own, set the number of racers and their difficulty level, and choose a track. There's actually a decent number of tracks to pick from, though sadly there is no clear indication of what kind of race each one is, whether it's a circuit, street race or drag strip. What you can do is tweak a number of additional race parameters like night mode, weather, mirror tracks, reversed routes, damage on and off, and traffic. Traffic in the game is pretty sparse. During street races, civilian vehicles are few and far in between. But to my surprise, there are actually quite a few pedestrian NPCs walking around, which is kind of cool. Off the top of my head, I can't recall a single Need for Speed game that included pedestrians. If you do, drop it in the comments. A big game changer among these track options is weather. Gee boy, does it make a difference. Usually that means rain, turning your already slippery ride into an uncontrollable mess, but on certain tracks, like Boot Hill, the weather effects are a little more dramatic. First, the sky darkens, and lightning flashes in the distance. Then the rain kicks in, and on one part of the track, you'll even see a tornado tossing debris across the road, including an entire trailer. When it comes to controls, let's just say your biggest opponent is probably your own car. The AI racers aren't exactly brilliant. If you're in evenly matched cars, chances are you'll beat them without too much trouble. But the real challenge lies in getting used to the game's physics. Motor City runs on heavily modified version of the High Stakes engine, and it feels like something between High Stakes and Porsche Unleashed. It's definitely not as arcadey as the former, but also not quite the full-on sim experience of the latter. You can really feel the weight of each vehicle, and you'll need to put in some effort to nail sharp turns smoothly. Visually it might not be the prettiest game of its era, but what it lacks in polygon count, it more than makes up for in style. Cruising down the nighttime strip in a classic American muscle car, I genuinely felt like I was in American Graffiti. Meanwhile, the in-game radio was pumping out tunes from that era: rock, surf rock, funk and everything in between, all accompanied by a surprisingly well-voiced radio DJ that added a ton of atmosphere. I truly believe that 2003 marked a real loss for the gaming community. Motor City Online definitely needed some fine-tuning, polish and care, maybe even a shift in its pricing model, but instead of giving it attention it deserved, EA simply pulled the plug. And I genuinely regret never getting to experience it in its full living form, because this was a unique game, one of a kind before and since. Even without its multiplayer component, Motor City stands out for its unmatched style and atmosphere. I don't know, I just want to hop into my overpowered 32 Ford based hot rod, crank up the Beach Boys and send my Pompadour rivals eating dust in the rearview mirror. And until anything else comes close, I'm just thankful that thanks to passionate fans and those who care about video game preservation, we still have a way to touch this unforgettable piece of gaming history. This was Radio Nick, baby, get your asses in gear and I'll see you next time.